Let's start with the fact that I think it's amazing when you consider the timeline. Last Thursday, it was only last Thursday that we learned President Obama would meet with Vladimir Putin in Washington at Putin's request. At the time, the White House was saying that Ukraine would be at the top of the agenda and it would be a very big discussion point. Putin did catch us off guard completely with his plan to share intelligence with Iraq and Syria. And then he moved ahead with these airstrikes inside Syria. Discuss how quickly things have transpired over the past 1 week.
Well, President Putin last Monday implied that Russia would conduct strikes against ISIS. But in fact, Russia's aim is more limited. Russia is particularly concerned that the government, the central government, now headed by Bashar al-Assad in Syria, is weak and may be on the verge at some point of collapse. And so Russia is conducting airstrikes against the main opponents of that regime, and some of those are Free Syrian Army folks that the United States has helped arm. So Russia's engaged in a different and more limited fight than the U.S. and the 60-plus nation coalition, which are going after ISIL. They're just two different fights.
Two different fights completely, but would that explain why Russia's moving with such urgency right now?
Russia's concerned that the Assad regime is losing ground significantly. And Russia, for the last couple of months, has given some hints, including publicly, that it might be willing to move beyond Bashar al-Assad if he can't hold things together. Russia's great concern is that Syria could end up like Libya, with a lot of chaos and Islamists everywhere. In that case, Russia would actually no longer play a key role in Syria. So Russia wants to prop up the government in Syria. It may not be the Bashar al-Assad government. It might be a new strongman that Russia would help bring to power.
Right, so it's very much about retaining its sphere of influence. If you would, Ambassador Courtney, would you connect the dots or give us the linkage between these unilateral strikes in Syria on Russia's part with its economic instability or weakness?
Well, Russia's having severe economic issues now. It's in a recession. Investment in Russia is falling a lot faster than the economy as a whole, so that doesn't augur well. Russian ruble's down 40% over the last year. Russia's structural economic reforms actually are going backwards rather than forwards. So the combination of low oil prices, sanctions, and then intervening in places like Ukraine, which are costing a lot of money, and now, of course, in Syria, Russian Kremlin leadership seems to be making decisions on political grounds, not economic grounds, and that's going to involve some economic price for Russia in the months and year ahead.
Right. That is the important backdrop here as we consider what Russia is doing. Having said all that, Russia is paying lip service to the idea that it shares a common goal of fighting Islamic State. Does Russia have the military might to contribute to the fight against Islamic State in any kind of meaningful way?
It does not. It has enough military power to help the Assad government stay in power or some other central government to stay in power. But as compared with the U.S. And the 60-nation coalition, they have a lot more military power. So if Russia were to join with that coalition, it would really only have an impact at the margin.